Hello class, today we are going to talk about the last of our algebraic properties, which is called the distributive property. At the end of the lesson you will know how to use the distributive property to evaluate numerical expressions and simplify expressions involving variables. The distributive property is one that allows us to get rid of parentheses. So for example, if I have A times B plus C. The distributive property allows me to multiply each piece on the inside with the value from the outside to give me A times B plus A times C. This property also works when we have subtraction inside of the parentheses. So we distribute and get A times B minus A times C. To give you a numerical example of this, if I have 5 in parentheses, 2 plus 3. In your head you can do 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 times 5 is 25. The distributive property tells us that I have 5 times 2 plus 5 times 3, giving me 10 plus 15, which is still equal to 25. So we know that this property works as we just checked it out mathematically. We can use this to help us do mental math. Yes, there will be a portion on your test where you can't use a calculator and you are going to have to solve these problems mentally using the distributive property. So what you want to do here is break down each place value. So for example, the first part, we have 12 times 171. So that first place value gives us 100, so I would do 12 times 100, which gives me 1,200. 12 times 1 is 12, add on those 2 zeros at the end. In the next place value, there's a 7, so that's telling us to do 12 times 70. 12 times 7 is 84, and add on that 0 gives us 840. The last place value is a 1 again, so I have 12 times 1, which gives me 12. I can add all of that up now and get a final answer of 2,052. Same thing works if you have fractions involved. You're going to break them down by place value. So I've got 44 times my whole number, which is 2, which gives me 88. Then I have 44 times the fraction of 1/2, which is cutting that in half to give me 22. Adding those pieces together, I end up with an answer of 110. So go ahead and attempt these two problems on your own, breaking them down using the distributive property. So your final answer for the first one should have been 486, and for the second one you should have gotten 112. If you have questions about that, please let me know when you get to class. The other thing that we can use the distributive property, and its more common use in algebra, is to simplify expressions. One of the key pieces of simplification is getting rid of parentheses so we can actually solve the problems. So we're going to use that distributive property to bring the 3 inside to both of those terms. So I end up with 3 times 2m squared plus 3 times m. The second part also involves a distribution. If you notice, there is a subtraction sign in front of that m, but we're going to treat that as one piece together. So whatever mathematical symbol is directly in front of a letter or a number stays attached to it. So we're going to distribute negative m times m and negative m times 7. So again, that negative stays with the m. We can now do some multiplication here, and we get 3 times 2 is 6m squared. The next part is already simplified. We have 3 times m. Then we have negative m times m, which gives us a negative m squared, and a negative m times 7, which gives us negative 7m. Again, saying negative 7m or negative m squared is the same thing as saying subtraction for those. The last part part of simplifying is combining our like pieces. So I've got 6m squared and a negative m squared, giving me a total of 5m squared. Then I have 3m minus 7m, which gives me negative 4m. At this point, we are done simplifying the expression because we cannot combine two variables that are not alike. M squared is different from m, so 5m squared minus 4m is our final answer after the distribution. Go ahead and try this problem on your own. Again, be careful with your negatives and be careful that you are distributing the outside value to each part of the parentheses. And you get a final answer of negative 2a plus 16 plus 2a squared. These answers could be rearranged, so if you wanted to say 2a squared minus 2a plus 16, you could have done that. So if you had those three pieces but in a different order, that is okay. Last thing we're going to talk about is word problems involving the distributive property. Couple of key things that you're going to want to look for here is the word sum. That would indicate addition in parentheses, or look for the word difference. That's not in this particular word problem, but difference would indicate subtraction should be in parentheses. So we got 7 times the sum of a squared and b. So 7 times the sum, again, sum indicates parentheses, a squared and b. And then it says minus 4 times the sum of a squared and b. So we are taking away 4a squared plus b. So setting that up, that was our first step. Now we have to use our distributive property. Again, making sure when you distribute this second part that the negative stays with the 4. So I've got 7 times a squared plus 7 times b minus 4 times a squared minus 4 times b. Simplifying each piece of multiplication, it is 7a squared plus 7b minus 4a squared minus 4b. And putting together our like terms, we end up with 3a squared plus 3b as our final answer. So again, key is to set it up, then distribute, then simplify. The word sum means adding in parentheses. The word difference means subtraction in parentheses. Go ahead and attempt this problem on your own. Final answer should be 11x plus 8y. If you typed it in as 8y plus 11x, again, that is okay. If you have questions about this problem or anything else discussed in this lesson, please let me know when you get to class.